Well, welcome back, everybody.
Welcome.
What's up, Jesse?
What up, man?
Everyone, so this is a very special episode. We just wrapped up filming the last YouTube video, probably, I would say, of 2023 at least.
Yeah.
The last long-form food video. And so it's bittersweet, but I think it's more sweet just because so many like good memories and stuff. And plus what we made too. It was really bomb. The super pie stuff was.
Kevin made dessert, y'all.
Yeah, exactly.
A protein-packed dessert. I'll give him that, but it was dessert, y'all. It was good.
It's dessert. Don't eat that for breakfast. Like he's lying to y'all. No, it actually is really good, y'all. Yeah. But it was nice. So what I did for the final episode was I went back to my first YouTube video and I recreated that. So it's a spin-off of that one. Being much wiser now. Yeah. Understanding how to cook and bake with protein powder. This is night and day difference. Night and day.
Yeah.
You asked me what would Kevin of, I guess, like 10 years ago say.
Yeah.
Kevin of 10 years ago probably would have been a little bit coy about eating that.
Okay.
Because he was really, really, he was very fearful about maybe gaining weight back. Yeah. He was really, really into his fitness. Like, and you go back, I was really leaning in there a little bit too much. I feel like
in the gym all the time.
Oh yeah. And I was big. But yeah, so I don't think that he would have had as much fun. And so over the years now, Kevin has become me and understood and has begun to understand. You know what? It started out with travel too.
Okay.
Travel, I think, really changed my perspective. So just realize that food should be enjoyed and that there's so much more to life than the aesthetics of wellness. We need to be well and fit and stuff, but for me, not being obsessed with that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the decade of making recipes and learning what works and what doesn't, and like you said, picking up some travel tips along the way too. Seeing how other cultures address food and Americans. We always think, it always happens. We're like, we're the only way to do it, And you go other places and your mind's blown because you're like, oh, wow. People like sit down and enjoy their meals in company. They don't just pick it up and go.
Yeah, they don't stand at the counter like I do and scarf it down. We asked a really funny question when we were in Benin. We asked people like, we don't see like too many like keto signs, the keto diet signs. And they're like, what is that? What is that?
Or like gluten-free.
Or gluten-free. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I said that gluten-free. And they're like, what? No. What?
Doesn't exist.
Which is really interesting to how I feel like in some ways we have a disordered eating here in the U.S. But, I mean, that's another rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So, anyway... so it was our last food video and one of our last podcasts too for At the Table, just for a while, and so first of all, how do you feel? How did that feel shooting the last video, the food video?
I don't think it's really set in yet, just how it feels exactly. It's just kind of it's a bittersweet. It's like, oh yeah, like we're closing it out, for the time being, and new stuff's on the horizon for both of us, which is great. But then it's like, we've also become really good friends over the last decade, or 7, 8 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we know we're not going to see each other on a regular basis, and it's seeing one of your buddies, know. So
weekly.
It's just kind of like, all right, well, that's different. That's what makes it hard, But it's been fun.
Definitely makes it hard. But yes, sweet too. Yeah. So we're going to get into where, the future, but later on. But I thought what we could do, instead of doing our normal format, I don't think people really have got like a good insight on maybe some of the things that we get to do behind the scenes.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I wanted to, ask you, let's both come up with our top 3 moments. Top 3 moments of like working together.
Okay.
They could be domestic or international. I think I want to tell mine first because I got my first video. I mean, my first one. And I think I told this story in a video. Maybe I haven't, but this is the time where I was like, okay, Jesse is a cool person to to work with. His company is, right?
Okay.
We were, this was, gosh, I want to say this is in 2015, 2016, 2016. Something had just happened, some racist incident with the cop. And I don't remember what it was, but tensions were a little bit high. At the same time, I had this gig with Kroger. And I had this idea that I wanted to film people inside the grocery store and surprise them, be like, surprise, when they cook for you, right? So we get there early. Jesse and his dad and his brother are setting up cameras and also mics around the store, right? And I'm mic'd. Now, the place we were, this particular Kroger was next to a really affluent, predominantly white neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the clientele is a little bit different. Plus, this was on a Sunday morning, I think.
Yeah.
We tried to beat the rush.
The store wasn't closed down.
No.
It was open as is. Yeah.
It was open as is.
Yeah.
And people were coming in and out. But, you know, some of the elderly people come like early. So we're around that time, around 9, 10 o'clock before church. We're getting set up. And my assistant, who happens to be Mexican-American, we're just getting set up over there, you know, by the produce section. And it's like, several older white people just started to walk slowly next to us and kind of like look and be like, what are they doing? And I'm trying to be friendly. I was like, hey, how you doing? We're going to be doing like a food demo. And they didn't even respond back. They just kind of were like, okay. And so Denise, my assistant, she says, what is going on? And I said, I don't know, Denise, but white people terrify me. Old white people terrify me. I said that, right? And she was like, And all of a sudden, about 5 minutes later, we're like still like setting up. I get this hand on my shoulder, and it's Jesse, and he is red and just and his brother is laughing too, and he says, "What? What'd you say?"
So you don't have to be afraid of all white people.
Yeah, of us. You don't have to be afraid of us. You don't have to be afraid of us, Kev. Don't worry. And my eyes got big, and I completely forgot I was mic'd because they were nowhere around in the entire store. And all of a sudden,
it was great.
They could hear me.
My brother was running sound, and so he heard it, and he told me, and I was just like, oh. I gotta go tell Kevin. This is gonna be hilarious. This is gonna be hilarious. Like, and it worked out great because Kev's eyes were about as wide as the store aisle. Just
I had that photo too. My cousin was there. Jason took that photo and I was like this. It was literally deer in the headlights. But what I appreciated there is just that, like, you laugh just like I do about life and things. And yes, the topics are very serious, and we have had those, conversations. But what I've appreciated about you is that you never made it awkward for things like that. And that was my first foray into. He was like, all right, you know what, Jesse's pretty cool. You
could stay for dinner, right?
You could stay for dinner. That's one of my top moments.
Oh man, that's wild. Some of the travel stuff pops out to me. I mean, just because I would have never ever imagined in a million years that I would go to Madagascar, Curacao. Did like knowing that it's a place that exists, but like in the Caribbean, not being a super popular destination, So like, I mean, so many things, but yeah. And then to go to West Africa and go to Benin was wild, but like, I don't know, some of the stuff we've done. I look back on it and I'm just kind of like. Yeah, like we were in Madagascar and it was like a tour guide and like, it was fine and all, but like we were really like out there in the middle of kind of nowhere, Yeah. And I think the first night I remember we slept in those like tents. You remember that, dude?
Yes. So we didn't know that we were going to be like sleeping like outside in like some tents.
No, yeah, and we've been driving and it was nighttime, so we were driving.
Pitch
we didn't
black.
See what we were pulling up to. We were like, oh, we're pulling up to our hotel. Great. Get out of the car. Everything great. Got our suitcase. Cool. Let's walk you back to where we were sleeping. It's so dark. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face.
That dark. There's no light pollution.
It is a tent. It's a freaking tent. with a sleeping bag. Or is there something else there? I think there's like a small bedding. Yeah.
Kevin's
Kevin's always he's always been one to look out and make sure that traveling, that like I'm set up and taken care of, don't feel uncomfortable or something like that. And I'm down for an adventure, you know, like I'm here for it. But I just remember those being one of the moments where like, man, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I haven't been this scared in a while.
And let me tell you why it's scary, because he's not lying. It's like literally the darkest you've ever, like, it's just, there's nothing.
And there's animals in the woods with their eyes.
And that's what it was.
There's some big old bugs around. Oh man,
You
the
could hear
shower
them.
was outside. I was like, oh no.
Did you shower that next morning?
No, I did not.
I tried to. So I made the huge mistake of trying. It was so bad, y'all. So first off, that night I was so freaked out. I slept in my clothes, like fully clothed. I think I even had my sneakers still on.
Nope.
And I was like, in case I need to get up in the middle of the night and run, I'm good. The next morning, the shower was outside, and it's kind of like on the side of the tent. It's somewhat private.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, all right, let me go and do this. First off, should have known this is like the desert, so it's super cold in the morning time. The water was freezing. There's no hot water. So there's that. And then I get in finally, and this huge frog jumps out. And I say, I know, and it's just a frog, but it freaked out, yelled. I was like, oh, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. Because I'm like naked holding myself like, oh, I gotta get out of here. It's way too much. I took one of them hoe baths. They say that. I was like, I'm good until the next stop. Okay, it's 2 days from now. That's fine.
I'll be all right.
That is just fine. I won't be nasty.
Some of those like body wipes or whatever, the dude wipes.
Oh yeah, we should have bought those.
Get your pits.
That was a good memory.
Yeah.
That was really good. I didn't know that you were that scared because I was freaking out.
Oh yeah, I just remember trying to be in the moment and all that.
I have another memory. So one thing that we have tried to do on our adventures is, partake and have some, have a little bit of fun.
Extracurricular activities.
Yeah, a little extracurricular, a little bit of 420 action, and it has been. It's been like a thing for us to try to like, hey, let's see if we can find like the weed guy here, in these different countries. Yep. And I think by far the funniest one was actually the latest trip with like Benin. Yeah. And we're in this market. This is like the last 2 days. We're just getting gifts. Jesse's buying stuff like for Abby and stuff. And I'm just, shopping. And we go to this one place. The guy has dreads. He's playing Bob Marley. And all of a sudden, Jesse goes, that's the one.
That's the guy.
That's the one.
We're going to ask somebody out the blue. This is the guy.
He said, I'm not sure, but he's got it.
He's on brand.
And sure enough, we told our tour guide, we asked our tour guide, our translator, it's like, hey, we know, it's not legal here, but can you ask this guy? And sure enough, he did. And by the time we got back to our hotel, it was already there. He had met us there at the hotel. So the funny thing is that we always try to do a little bit of just that. It's adventure. Yeah. And also it always happens at the very end once everything is done. Yeah. It's more like, it's a nice glass of whiskey.
Yep. Time to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. And I remember when I learned my lesson, it was in Curacao. Because
I forgot about the time in Curacao.
Oh yeah, we we're at this park and we met some people. Yeah. And they took us out afterwards and they already knew. So so we were there at this beach. And I hit it and I was like, oh my God, this is all so weak, like junk skunk weed or something. It wasn't. I didn't.
It just tasted like a cigarette. Like it didn't have much of the typical weed flavor to it.
So I'm like, oh, here you go. And then I was bored. So I was like, you know what? Let me hit it again. Just hit it again. And we're just out there talking to these people that we met. And all of a sudden, I think both of us were just stuck.
That was me the whole time. Because I remember hearing you talking.
Yeah.
You were talking it up. And I just sat there and I was like.
He was like this the whole time, y'all. Staring at the ocean. And it was pitch black. Yeah.
It was dark. I was just like.
Is something coming out of the water?
Yeah.
What is that?
I was locked in.
But that is by far, I think, like one of my favorite types of adventures. Stories with us, because I don't know, it's just something that we just decided to start doing. And if we do it again, some more travel stuff, it is definitely going to be part of that because we made a pact to actually write it down. Yeah,
that's how it is.
And not bring it. We're not gonna, like be like Brittany Griner. We know anybody gonna come for us.
No. We just need a little map one day where we can say, yes, we've had a joint in every little country.
Yes, it was like here and right here and right here and right here.
Oh man, that's good. The other thing that stuck out in my mind just kind of randomly just now was it's been cool seeing the different stages of us filming food content, like in your old spot. And then I just thought about the studio.
Oh, yeah.
And the studio, I feel like that was a sweet time. Like,
oh, yeah.
Because Cedric was there too.
Yeah.
And so we had, Wilson. Wilson was there too,
It's like a frat hat. It was
that was like, I feel like that was like, peak Fit Men Cook the business, or people being there and stuff like that. Like, it was just a good time. Yeah, having a space that was separate from like where you lived, to be able to separate the food stuff there for a little while was dope.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, that was a huge thing. I was sleeping on top of air fryers and blenders, and I mean, it's a blessing for people to send you stuff to try out, but I was like, oh, I need some space, just to. To breathe.
Things we did in that, some of the food series we did, like recreating like fast food meals and stuff like that, making them calorie conscious.
They're reimagined.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, the cockroach prank was
I know you're going to say that.
It was a prime moment.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was, if you haven't seen it, we're about to film and I'm going back and forth, getting all the, the ingredients and setting up. And I noticed something on the cutting board. I'm just like, that's probably not it. So I just keep on moving. And then, how you catch something in the corner of your eye? And it looked like a really lifelike cockroach.
Yep.
Like one of those big water bugs.
Bag of like fake ones on Amazon.
Oh, I was so and it was up like by the food. And I said, what the fuck? Because I wanted to jump on me. And sure enough, Jesse.
Yep. I was trying to be inconspicuous, make it so I was like, filming on the cameras were rolling and all that stuff, but not too early, still setting up. And so it worked out great.
That was a good one. That was.
But then you got me back here not that long ago. I thought, I was like, well, for a while there, I was like, I know what I'm getting into. If I do this, Kevin's a creative person. He's going to find a way to get me back. Like, we'll see what happens. And Kevin played the long game, y'all. He went a long time. Jesse just... forgot it was a thing.
You want to share with people in case they missed it?
I came in here one day and Kev had what was the challenge you wanted it to do?
It was a jelly bean. It was a jelly bean. It was a gummy bear.
Gummy bears.
Gummy bear.
How'd you tee it up though?
Oh, that what did I tell you that like I was going to do it at the same time as you?
That's what you told me it was spicy. Yeah. So he didn't hide that it was spicy. He was just like, hey, come over here. We're going to do this. See who can like last the longest, basically, like holding it in.
And I got gummy bears that look exactly like the hot ones. So Jesse had, and first off, it was like 10,000 UIs.
Something like that.
IUs.
Yeah, whatever
that
spicy
measurement
is.
Yeah. On the skull meter. Hot, just for one. And
Kevin gave me like 4 or 5.
No, you had 3. You had 3 in your mouth. Still really bad. And he's like, oh my God, this is bad. And I'm chewing too, but I've got like cherry and strawberry in my mouth. Yeah. I'm like, it's burning up.
I'm looking in the phone. I'm like, oh yeah, this is getting kind of hot. I don't know how long we'll like keep this together and keep it cool. And I kind of start glancing over at Kevin a little bit, and I see him like kind of like wincing, and I'm like, how is he not being affected by this? Like, does he have this big of a tolerance for spicy stuff? And every time I look over, he's kind of like, but also kind of smiling, like making this little smirk. And I was just like, you bastard. Oh no. Oh no. He had some cherry, strawberry gummy bears over there. And I had these gummy bears from hell.
Yeah. And I felt really bad because I tried one of them afterwards and they were really, really hot. Yo.
They were wild.
They were really hot.
They were like the chewiest, most dense gummy bear, so you couldn't just like chew it and be done with it. Like I was sitting there chewing, and it comes in waves. It's like it gets hot, and then it gets hot, and then you're like, Okay. I don't
I'm
know how
glad
to
you didn't
function
swallow
normally.
it.
Yeah, my stomach would have
Yeah.
been destroyed.
Yeah, I swallowed it with that with the chip challenge, and that was not a good idea. It was terrible, terrible idea, terrible.
You and Lady Jade.
Oh my gosh, she sent me a message about that the other day. She still has not forgiven me.
That was wild.
That was really bad. But yeah, the long
Pranks.
game always wins.
Yeah, you got me good, man.
So what do you think was your favorite content series or thing that you got to work on?
I mentioned the travel stuff, and like the reimagining food series. Those were great.
I love that too.
But I think I guess I don't know how long ago when we officially launched the podcast, but I feel like just some of those first episodes, more like documentary, investigative journalism stuff. I feel like that was some of my favorite stuff. Because I just think as from a filmmaker, that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, yeah, let's go tell these stories.
Yeah.
And some of the first guests we had were awesome. Over at the Stew Pot and the OC Veggie Project, just getting to learn more about food deserts. And when you talk to people like that, it's like you leave those conversations forever changed. You know?
Yeah.
Like you walk away and you don't see the way cities are set up the same anymore. You know, you don't ever take for granted what you have down the street. You know, so
that's so spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to concur. Those are some of my favorite ones too. I think that we like the same thing. I just don't think that maybe it's we just have a niche. You know, it's a niche type of thing. Some people like it. Some people really don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my favorite too. The storytelling, definitely with those.
Mm-hmm.
It actually led to a lot more advocacy work too.
Yeah.
Because getting more involved with the AHA, with the NIH, and Cleveland Clinic too, and different food pantries around. So I am grateful for that because a lot of those stories just really helped to ignite another passion.
Yeah.
And that was to use the platform in ways to inform and to educate people, not just
huge.
the ones who actually need help, but everybody and how we can all be a part of making life better collectively.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, those are really nice moments.
That's good. I'm trying to think if anything else sticks out.
Oh, you know what? Here's one. This is one of our first travel trips together. You probably don't remember. It was the Red Bull 400.
Yeah.
In Park City.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Dude. Let me tell you about Jesse. Jesse's trash. Trash. So first off, it's called the Red Bull 400. And they call this like the highest or the steepest 400-meter dash in the world. And what it is basically, you know how ski slopes are like pretty steep. They're about 80 degrees, aren't they? Maybe 70, 80 degrees.
Steep ass hill.
Very steep. And the goal is to run up that hill. Now it sounds easy, but there's a part where it's like literally 80 degrees and you've got to like crawl and grab a rope.
It's not possible for you to stand up anymore. You have to be on all fours.
You have to be on all fours unless you're going to fall backwards and and roll down the hill, and literally you will. You. Yes. So it was the most grueling thing I think I've ever done. Like just 400 meters. It took me 7 minutes, and there were like 300 people, and I was top 20, I believe. Still
impressive as all get out.
Which is for hundreds of people there. 7 minutes to get to the top. Well, actually, was it 7 or I think it was 7 minutes. Or was it 4.5?
Was that the
Dylan's time was 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes.
And then the other guy that beat him was like almost 2 minutes flat.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So that's why I think mine was around. I think it was around 4.5, 5 minutes. 7 minutes was another person because they're about to get kicked off the thing. So anyways, so you run like straight up. So Jesse's there, my cousin's there, and we're like, all right, so we got to get this footage for for like Red Bull running up this hill. And so, never done it before. Oh my God. It was, my legs like gave out within like, I would say the first 30 seconds because they said, first off, don't run. So I didn't run. I was jogging up there and kept it going. And then once you hit that climb, I just said, you know what, Kev, keep going. I even lost my shoe. I lost my shoe in there, and I just kept going, head down, and you think that you're almost done. No. So I said, don't look up, whatever you do. and get to the stairs, because there's some stairs there afterwards. He has to go up those, and they're like giant stairs too. So you've got to have to climb those. So I'm like, just make it to that part. That part, oh, I could have thrown up. By the time I got to the other part to get up to the up to the very top, plus it's Park City, Utah. I'm gassed, zero oxygen. They got to put me on this machine. And I'm like, where's Jesse? Where's everybody? Like, way minutes later, Jesse and Jay and my cousin, they're like, oh man. I was like, did we get any footage? No, we were climbing. We didn't know it's going to be. Everyone's like, holy crap.
So they always say in those like, you know, the like survivalist shows, or they're out there and it's like, well, the cameraman has to do all the same stuff this person's doing and keep up while doing the camera, you know? And so I was like, well, now I understand why that's a thing. Because, like, Kevin left us in the dust. We're over there trying to climb the stairs, and we're like...
It was still... I mean, y'all, this is how steep it was. Like, it was crazy. So, in fairness, we didn't know. They didn't know either. I mean, we went the night before to go ahead and look at it, you know, to get some photos and whatnot. But we didn't walk it. Yeah. And... let me tell you, walking it is complete. It's just something that you should try to do it if you like. Yeah, you know, adventure. You can
go out there and just try it for fun.
Yeah,
it's open.
I did it one time, and that was to qualify for the finals. Even though I qualified, I was like, there's no way I'm not doing that again. Yeah. I was out, literally it's out. My body was seizing.
I just remember like going up the stairs, getting you taken off. Filming you as you go. I'm like, okay, he's gonna go. Cool. Okay, now I'm gonna run up and get ahead of him. Biggest mistake of my life.
Yeah, you can't.
Like, I'm going up the stairs. Okay. Okay. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. Jason's behind me. We're just like one step at a time. Like. Okay. What have we done?
And Jay's scared of heights, so he's like on the rails, grabbing both the rails, like, It's like, it's not even, it's just a hill.
What a memory, man. My God.
Yeah. That was, I mean, it was the blind leading the blind. And I was like, sorry, Red Bull. You just got photos and stuff of me, of us running, starting and then finishing. And the finishing was even worse because I'm there on my little oxygen machine. Yeah. Oh, and my buddy that I invited, Matt, was there. Matt,
did he make it up?
He made it up with me. Yeah. He made maybe like a minute right after, but he was gassed. He's from Texas too, so we had the oxygen machine on there, and it just like, and people were walking back down. It's like, there's no way. You got to get. There's no way I could walk.
No, yeah, we rode that gondola thing back down.
Yeah. Oh, but that was a really good memory. Painful memory, but that's what I think. After that, we always had the drone or a GoPro. That was that. Was the last time we did that without something like that.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. So pushing it forward. So what are you most looking forward to now? And you want to share a little bit about, you know, your family's business, because I think that some people don't really know that you have a side business too. Yeah. That's been around for decades.
Yes. Yeah. I've been working alongside my pops for over 10 years now. I think 2012 is when we officially like kicked off working together. Okay. When my dad left an agency, decided he wanted to freelance, asked me to join, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And just kind of took some of the knowledge that my dad had from the industry and then jumped on YouTube and learned how to edit and just kind of dove headfirst into it all and didn't really fall in love with it until I jumped into it, you know. I just figured like, well, that sounds a lot more fun than what I'm doing now. Yeah. So
I like that.
Coming from like a corporate desk job, you know. Yeah. But yeah, fast forward to working with Kev. It's been a great partnership through the years. I think for me, it was almost like a level of safety being in the freelance world too, of like having a consistent income in a sense, and kind of learning about like, okay, well, maybe that's a good way to build a business model in this industry, you know, and stuff like that. But then obviously like Kevin and I, we became friends and found myself becoming more and more like passionate about pushing the brand forward and doing projects and stuff like that. And so it all just kind of came to a culmination over the last, like really over the Benin trip, just having time away from the family, time to think. And it was hard being away from the family on one hand, but the other hand, I was just kind of like, okay, some good time to kind of think, write down some goals, and
Yeah.
kind of look at the big picture here and where do I see myself in 5 years and all that stuff, And unfortunately, it did mean me having to somewhat step away from working with you on a consistent basis. But it did mean continuing to push this kind of legacy business that my dad started. I took over the business on paper a few years ago. And so with that came just kind of some sort of fire to build it into something that my dad never expected, kind of thing, And so I just felt at a crossroad, basically, where I was like, okay, I've got this Fitman Cook connection, built a great working relationship with Kev, great friendship. Like, we could run with that, but that would mean me having to like step away in some capacity from Go Man.
Yeah.
And so, I've chosen the Go Man route to take that family business and talked to Kevin about it and said, hey, doesn't mean we can't ever work together again, but for the time being, need to step away from our current partnership setup. So
Yeah.
yeah,
and that was and it was right after the Benin trip, so I think that we were both on a really big high, and it came at an opportune time too. It's inopportune, but it's opportune because it was like after this trip, things were gonna really begin to ramp up, and so it's just much more like you're gonna hop on the roller coaster now because if you can't jump off of it once it starts, and we had a lot of stuff going, but just like you said, this isn't goodbye forever. It's just that we're just reimagining the way that our 100%. Relationship is. It's not like every single week now.
Yeah.
And so I just, in the words of Maya Angelou, if I could say this, that like I wish you all the best, but I wish that you continue.
Yeah.
And that you, what'd she say? I think that I wish that you continue, and be exactly who you are.
Yeah.
And spread kindness in this very cruel world.
Exactly.
So
that's beautiful.
That's my prayer for you. It takes a lot of courage just to step out and do anything from an entrepreneurship standpoint.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to also, it's grown man stuff when you can look at, I do have my own personal goals and professional goals. But right now it conflicts a little bit too much with a personal goal of mine, and that's to be a present father.
Yeah, for sure.
As much as possible. And first off, I mean, Jesse's not ever been present.
It's just it's a level to it, It's just I can't, Abby and I always every year at least find some time to like kind of reevaluate where we're at, like goals for our family, and I talk about goals for the business and stuff like that, and so it's stuff that's always top of mind. Yeah. And it's just I know for a fact that I always try to do too much. It's just one of those things. It's like, well, if I can just put my hands in so many different things, like something will shake out. And it's like, in reality, I think God's just telling me that like, keep it simple, like focus and give your energy and time to one thing. Because otherwise everything's going to get a subpar version of yourself, you know? And so, I don't want anyone to get a subpar. I don't want my family. I don't want you. I don't want my coworkers in Go Man to get any part of that. So for me, it just really was like simple. I can scale a simple thing, Complexity can kill sometimes, you know?
Right.
And so I was making things a little too complex there for a while.
Yeah. I think that's a word for everybody.
Yeah.
I think we can all understand that. Like, don't overcomplicate things, and I think that we tend to when we look at that final goal where we want to be, and we try to make where we want to be tomorrow.
Yeah,
and I think that's where it gets a little complicated. But I remember Bishop he recently had a sermon that he says that you got to stop comparing yourself to outliers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why you're so upset oftentimes. You compare yourself to these people who have just had instant success and whatnot, or something else. And so, it takes time to grow. It takes time to grow into something. And it's just like whenever you get your first job, when your parents bought you something, you would just run through it.
Yeah.
When you got to buy stuff, all of a sudden it's like
taking care of it.
Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe where it's a little bit light, And so, I think that's what it is here too. Whenever you're pursuing goals, I think that you will appreciate it more once you've kind of gone through, because it costs you something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And shout out to Kev, because he's been a friend, but he's also been almost like a quote unquote mentor, because I've seen you how you've run a successful business. Like I've seen you grow something from something out of your house into something that's bigger. And so just to be an onlooker, I feel like is really special. Just to be able to see and observe and see what it takes to be a person of integrity in this world. Like that's hard to come by. And everybody that is a fan of yours that knows me is always like, oh, well, how is it like working with someone? Because they're always curious. They're like, are these influencers the same they are in front as they are like behind the camera and stuff like that? I'm like, yeah, I mean, what, like,
I'm just sprinkling cilantro on food.
He's just sharing, like, he's having a good time sharing food. Like, y'all, of course he's fine. What are you talking about? So there's some of that. We've talked about the stigma that influencers have. And I just think it's more so in light of, I guess, the way influencers can go awry, especially in the health and wellness world, just promoting bad stuff. And it's like, Kevin's just, you've rocked that platform of just like, hey, we can make healthier versions of things that we love. We can find ways to modify stuff. I ain't going to tell you the right or wrong way to do it. I'm just going to present you with the information. You do you. And hey,
that's pretty much it. Thank you.
And it's a bummer that more people don't appreciate it, honestly.
That's one, and that's a word. I do, I guess how do I put this? I guess the bitter part for me is that, like, and this is where I'm starting to get emotional, so I hate this. Is that, like, I feel I've struggled a lot with feeling like a failure in a sense, particularly with the content, just because one thing that I've always hoped, like, what makes me happy when I was talking to my accountant time is like, I want for the people around me to actually do well and be well and just be able to fit from that. And so oftentimes with the videos, like, yes, I wanted the message to go out, but I honestly wanted more people to see your work.
Yeah.
And so that was that part was really hard. That I wasn't able to deliver that piece. And so, but I thank you for sticking with the brand regardless, because I know that a lot of people would not, and a lot of people have not. So I just thank you just for getting the mission, and looking at that as a bigger picture, and that it just underscores how the man of faith that you are, because we do things unto the Lord and not unto man. Promotion comes from Him, so I just appreciate you still doing that, and whenever. So whether we had 2 million people looking at the content or two, it was still the same. And so I do honestly wish what I said before. I wish that you continue, and that your business continues and prospers, and that whatever God has in store for us to be able to work together, that it's always made perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
And timing and everything. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, I appreciate those words, man, a lot. It means a lot. It really does.
So
thank you for that.
Yeah. So, but this is a happy time, so we're gonna end off on a really happy note. What's one final funny story maybe that you can think of, or our memory? Is there just what? Oh, here's one. It's not really supposed to be funny, but when we almost died in Curacao.
That's what came to my mind.
Literally.
Kevin and I, we traveled the world together. We made a lot of food videos together. We also almost died together.
Yeah. It was like, and we didn't even have a conversation about it, but we just both were like, this can never, ever, ever happen again. Never, ever. We're going to ask so many questions and make sure all the safety precautions are there.
Yep.
But some things don't have to.
Swimming into a cave.
Oh my God. And I'm being myself. I was like, man, Why don't we go and tell Abby? This is dumb, Jesse. What are we doing? Why don't I tell you why?
She'd be like, you did what?
Yeah.
You did what?
Now,
Why?
where is he? No. Oh, my God.
It's out there in the ocean somewhere.
Looking back and saying it out loud, I'm like, oh, man, that was really bad. It was poor judgment, man. What were we thinking?
Yo.
Yeah, but the nice views will do that to you. Just get you caught up in it. But yeah. So, cheers to the next chapter.
Cool.
Thank you for 7 amazing years.
Yeah, man.
And cheers to what's next.
Yeah, cheers, bro.
Thank you for listening to At the Table. Remember, you can catch up and watch full episodes on YouTube on the Fit Men Cook channel. And if you enjoy the podcast, please consider giving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on. In the meantime, be kind to yourself, to each other, and break bread. See you next week.